I'm going to be driving
Elizabeth,
today.
I will be handing control over to you.
Great.
Yeah. As I said, my name is Coca Sexton. I'm the founder of Social Selling University here at Inside View. The whole purpose of Social Selling University is to educate salespeople and to show them new ways of getting business, creating opportunities, and generating a pipeline. Today we are welcomed by the esteemed Barbara Giamanco and Kent Gregoire. Can you both hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Before we get started here, what's new in your guys' world? You have some new stuff coming out, I'm hearing?
We do. Last week on Friday, we launched our Sales Meet Social Media coaching program. We had a nice group on it. That seems to be off to a very strong start and continuing to register new people this week.
Outstanding. Yeah, I was just taking a look at it. It looks really good. For those of you that are new to Social Selling University, I welcome you to sign up for Social Selling University on our website. We'll announce new events, and you'll be able to get the access to guides and white papers that we produce here around leveraging social media and how to be a better salesperson. Our post-webinar gift to everybody that is attending is our latest paper, our guidebook. We called it the Sales Intelligence Blueprint. It's got a lot of great information in it. A lot of it some of it will be covered in today's webinar. But a lot of it really focuses on how to leverage the right tools to get your job done as a salesperson. And as always, you can keep the conversation going by following and using the hashtag #SocialTalk in Twitter. So I'm going to pass off control. Do I send it to you, Kent, or to you, Barbara?
You can send it off to me, Coca.
All right. While he's getting loaded up there. All right. Everybody should be able to see your screen now.
Great. Thank you, Coca. It's great to be here for Shrink Your Sales Cycles and Improve Your Win Rates. I'd like to introduce myself to get us launched off, make sure we stay on time. Again, I'm Kent Gregoire, and I'm Chief Executive and one of the co-founders of Social Centered Selling. I bring more than 20 years of experience helping organizations and sales professionals supercharge their sales efforts by incorporating training and development programs, employee development programs. I've also founded and served as CEO of many companies. During that time, I was involved in bringing solutions to market, building brand equity, and successfully leveraging business partnerships and sales channels to exceed and maintain growth even in tough economies. So, Barb, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Kent, and thanks, Coca, for hosting us again. Really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to hang out with the Inside View crew. I am Barb Giamanco, and I am also one of the co-founders of Social Centered Selling. A couple things you should know about me. I'm a longtime salesperson. I've been selling professionally for close to 29 years. Worked for some great corporate companies like Microsoft, running sales teams, both locally and nationally. Have a very strong passion for elevating the professionalism of sales and helping sales organizations really understand how to use new media as part of the overall sales process. So it's a pleasure to be here today. I am also the co-author of the book called The New Handshake, Sales Meet Social Media. And what Kent didn't say is you should check us out in the July-August edition of the Harvard Business Review and check out our article, Tweet Me, Friend Me, Make Me Buy.
Hey, quick question. So is this article number 2 in the HBR that you're getting?
No, it's the main one that we did, and you know that story, Coca, where they reached out to us over Twitter about writing it. So, it actually was published in the July-August edition, and then we subsequently did a webinar with the Harvard Business Review folks, as well as we had the opportunity to post a blog on their website.
That's amazing. It's a great article. It really is.
Well, thanks. And, we highlighted our friends at Inside View along with others to really hopefully make a strong impact on sales teams so that they would really understand this is important to their sales business.
Yeah, and we're seeing the trend grow much faster. It's accelerated over the past 6 months, but the whole idea of leveraging social media and using technology within a sales cycle is definitely on the rise. And you are one of the pioneers in this. You mentioned your book earlier. Anybody on this webinar, you should check out this book. When I read it, I was amazed. I mean, you were really ahead of your time when it was coming to how to leverage this stuff.
Well, thanks, Coke. I appreciate that. Let's hope I can maintain that, stay ahead of the curve, right?
That's the hard part.
Always. So as always, we're looking forward to the session. So I'll turn it back to. Oh, actually, no, that's right. I'm kind of kicking off. So we really enjoy the opportunity to get together with all of you and have this time together. So what we wanted to talk about today are, things that are near and dear to your heart, hopefully, because certainly one of the things that we hear from executives continuously is that they need their salespeople to be able to prospect more quickly, get in front of the right person more quickly with the right message at the right time. Why? Because they need to not only get more, they need revenue in the pipeline, they need prospects in the pipeline, but they need to actually trim the time it takes from connection to close and then improve those win rates and make sure that those deals are profitable. So we're going to talk about how you can leverage technology for not only prospecting, but doing research and actually looking for the business drivers that will show you that there is a need for your solution, and then what you do with that information really will make the difference. And we'll talk a lot about how you want to engage with a relevant message based on the information that you uncover. And we'll talk about those critical questions that you really want to know the answers to before you start meeting with people, and therein lies the reasons why you want to qualify and frankly disqualify pretty quickly, because time is valuable. And one of the things that Kent and I will talk with you about is a methodology we use ourselves within our own company as well as with clients, and it's that those 9 things you need to really answer for yourself in order to be able to qualify those opportunities quickly. So looking forward to our discussion today.
Great, thank you, Barb. So we're going to begin by, talking a little bit about Buyer 2.0, but I suspect most of us on the call have a good grasp. We've got some great things going on in our conversation today about research, doing the pre-call research that's necessary at 3 levels: the industry level, the company level, and the executive level. I'd like to dig into that for us to give you some real meat today that you can take away and know that you're doing a better job of doing your research and using modern technology and some exciting, what I discovered, new developments with the Inside View tool, which is actually making our job even easier. So I'd like to begin with understanding the client's business. This is
so
the client's.
Ken, just before you jump ahead, let me throw in just one thing if I could, because I wanted to make sure that I said this before we transitioned. Wouldn't it be fair to say that one of the reasons why this section in particular, and then the rest, of course, is so important for them to think about, because buyers buy differently, right? So a corporate exec board says it's 60 to 70%. Harvard Business Review and Gartner say 70, 80%. But we know a lot of the buying process is happening. So if clients are researching us, we need to have a strong understanding of them. And so I just wanted to kind of make that connecting point, if you will, about why it's so important to realize why you have to do everything that we're going to be talking about now.
Yeah, it's really critical. If we're not doing it, we're going to lose credibility pretty fast. We probably will not get very far on our first phone conversation. And I think what's important about this today is that we're going to be linking this to the tools that are used. So first, we'll set the stage to understand the client's business or the prospect's business. And I may use those terms interchangeably throughout the remaining 50 minutes we're together, 50 plus minutes. So the first thing is the drivers. Barb spoke just about this, the internal or the external factors that might cause a buyer to change or react. Understanding these drivers can make a really big difference. We're going to be diving into each of these areas in some detail for you. Next thing is the initiatives. These are the things that are put in place to address the driver. A prospect may define a number of initiatives that are going on with their organization that they want to implement. However, their ability to implement these initiatives is going to be limited by what? Resources such as people, money, and time. So we want to be really clear, are those drivers strong enough and compelling enough and time-based that these initiatives are going to stick, so we're pursuing the right opportunities. A breakthrough initiative, first thing I'd like you to be thinking about here is it's deemed so critical within a client organization, has a very specific time frame to it. And if this breakthrough initiative is not actually acted upon, it's most likely going to have some pretty significant consequence to an organization. Now, we're not always able to identify the breakthrough initiative, but we can usually come pretty close to it. And in certain solutions that we offer to the marketplace, knowing those initiatives can make the difference between winning the opportunity and not. One thing I'd like you to know, think of it as a tip. When a breakthrough initiative actually exists, we tend to find those at the executive level. So while we're going to be talking about things in buyers and influencers in general today, breakthrough initiatives really helpful to have those conversations at the executive level. So in talking about these drivers, what are some drivers? Well, they come in a variety of forms, and they either originate internally or externally. So internal drivers are typically things like operational or financial. It's about increasing revenues or decreasing expenses. Might be two pretty common examples of financial drivers. Operational drivers might be having the right product mix or even the right skill mix of qualified people to deliver your consulting services. So we're looking for what's happening within the organization that might be causing the need for change, that might be causing an interest in the product or solution we can deliver to our prospect. External factors. So there's a number of them. Customer retention comes up frequently today. Loss of market share could represent another key factor. We might be looking at emergence of non-traditional competitors or firms today that are business partners, tomorrow might actually become our competitors. Might be looking at quality of materials shipped by suppliers. That certainly can have an enormous impact on the quality of finished goods of some of the client situations we sell into. Regulatory issues, they may have either a short-term or a long-term impact, and I bet people on the phone are selling and acknowledging those kinds of drivers. Products that are acceptable in the marketplace today may have to be significantly changed to meet new regulations. I'm working with a client right now, some discussions around that, and globalization considerations would certainly be another, and that certainly can even impact how we're bringing our products to market. So kind of starting to give you a little bit more information about drivers. Internal and external drivers. There's a total of 2 internal, 6 external, and we actually do have a sheet later on that I'll show you that can guide you in how to collect the information here. And here it is. So you'll have an opportunity to have this presentation post, but if you look at this business issue worksheet, you can actually create a worksheet, outline what are these drivers, what's happening in your client organization, document it, understand, is there a breakthrough initiative, what are the issues impacting that initiative. For instance, it could be ability of an existing sales channel to support new product introductions. That would be an example of, something that might be impacting a breakthrough initiative. Our solution, how does our solution address the breakthrough initiative and provide payback, or how can you differentiate the value of your solution? Some examples there might be provide sales tools and training of existing sales channel sales channel reps to make new product introductions so that they can win more deals. That's how they're going to better be able to bring their new product offerings into the marketplace. So you'll have a copy of this. It's a really great piece to be able to begin to document what's happening inside an organization that might be causing the need for change. So the focus here is on drivers. Here's an interesting piece. Actually, it's very valuable, and that's thinking about which questions should we be asking a buyer in our initial face-to-face meeting, or what questions might we not want to ask. What are your top 3 business objectives? Well, we really should be able to find those out through our research. How do your financial metrics compare to similar-sized companies in the same industry? We have the opportunity to go on and do that research as well. So we should know the answer there before having that meeting. The reason we want to have these answers in advance is it's part of actually establishing insight, and we want to continuously be working towards building credibility with that buyer and those influencers. How would your customers describe their experience of doing business with your company? Now, that's a good question. That can give us quite a bit of insight. Who are your company's top 5 competitors? Well, we should be able to figure that out. Not too difficult. What are your top 3 strategic initiatives of your company? It's a little bit harder, but with a little bit of work going perhaps both internally and externally within the organization, you may be able to find that out. Maybe having conversations with individuals internally, or even going out and listening to the quarterly earnings calls. What plans does your company have to expand into the global marketplace? Well, we ought to be able to figure that out. That usually comes out in media pretty fast. Has your company recently experienced a merger or acquisition? Same thing. Usually published pretty quickly. Here's what I want you to really pay attention to. I understand your top 3 initiatives to be X, Y, and Z. Which one is most important to you and why? That is a great question to be asking, and it shows that you've done your research by understanding the top 3 initiatives. It clearly asks that executive to talk about why it's most important to them, so we're beginning to really feel that it's relevant to them and with the why. That's a very, very powerful question. So it's a great one that we can be asking. I'm going to go in a little bit more about learning about your clients. So, taken by itself, doing a competent job and having satisfied prospects and clients, will not bring, just doesn't bring clients back to us over and over again unless we are really doing our work and understand what's going on in their organization so we can bring them real value, that we can continue to develop those professional relationships. So we want to be doing research on their industry. We want to do research on their company. We certainly want to know about their customers. What's going on with our prospects' customers. That gives us some really good insight. And what's happening with their competitors. Again, some excellent insight. And we want to know about the buyer themselves at the executive level. So at the pinnacle of the pyramid, this buyer, which I like to say is herself, you'll get to know and understand her both personally and professionally when you're doing your research. As you see them navigate the political structure of the organization, you're going to get an even better understanding of their psyche and how to successfully sell your ideas and get them across effectively. And at this level of prospect learning, you're in a unique position to provide extraordinary value to the executive and the buyers and their companies. So let's see if we can kind of find some shortcuts here. So one of the shortcuts I would like you to be thinking about is, there's all kinds of websites out there. Some are very specific to our prospects industry. Some are general, like business.com. Good place to go. Certainly your prospects company, even your prospects industry and the buyer itself, you can be going out to Inside View. We're going to look at some of the new enhancements that they made recently that I'm thrilled with. Makes a big difference in the pre-call planning. Gives us pretty valuable insight right from the get-go without doing a lot of research. So you can be spending your time selling and not having to do as much time, not having to spend as much time on research. And still today, LinkedIn is, very, very critical to the research that we're doing. We need to get really comfortable with that buyer. Barb, anything you want to add before I move on?
No, I think you're doing a great job.
All right. So here's this new tool, and I'm not going to click over to it, but there are several things that Inside View has added. My understanding, and Coco may want to chime in after I kind of give a little bit of talk on why I think this is so great and why it's already helped me. It has to do with this tab around industry profile, and there are several different things. There's the quick view, there's challenges. What are the challenges? So I've actually gone out to a potential company here. They happen to be an Atlanta company. I was looking up this company for a colleague of mine, and I came across this information and thought it was just unbelievably valuable. It tells us the challenges that are happening in this industry, what the trends that are going on for insurance agents and brokers, size and structure of company. But boy, I was completely sold when I saw the call prep. You may recall that list earlier. What are the questions we should already have answers to? Well, probably many on this list are examples of questions we should be doing our research on before we go to meet with the buyers, the executives with whom we're talking to. And Inside View has done a great job. Sorry, I keep plugging this, but I was just thrilled to see it, Coca. Want to talk a little about it and what maybe I've not covered?
No, I think this has been very helpful. This is actually something that had come from our community in regards to a product enhancement. One of the things is that we face a lot are new customers who are trying to ramp up their sales team, or maybe existing customers who are bringing on a new sales member on a regular basis, and getting them up to speed quickly on not just the account, but the industry that they're going to be working in. So what this technology does is it goes through and it finds the most interesting things, the trends around these industries, and then it serves you up these questions. Now, some of them may be relevant, some of them may not, but these are the things that are supposed to get you as a new sales rep or an existing sales rep thinking on the ways and the questions that really challenge the mindset of the prospect you're dealing with.
That's great. Well, I'm really pleased, as you can tell. So let's go through and summarize the value of, and I just noticed a typo. Wow. I guess we need to change that. Prospect client learning. So one of the things that, the key message about client learning is that you can take your opportunities to another level, take your relationships to a much higher level of learning to build that credibility by demonstrating the knowledge of the buyers at these three levels we talked about, the industry, the company, and the executive. You're going to be in a really great position to serve as a consultant to the client and to your prospects and become, perceived as a trusted advisor to multiple people within the organizations in which you are selling. So I think those are the things that I'd really like you to be thinking about. It does absolutely also help us shorten our sales cycle, because one of the biggest areas here is we're actually able to very quickly determine whether we should pursue or disengage from an opportunity. And Barb's going to be speaking more about that. And it definitely allows us to position ourselves for relevant conversations so we can truly add value immediately. Barb.
Awesome. Thanks, Kent. So, one of the things that always drives me sort of crazy when talking with salespeople, or even thinking back to, folks I managed on my teams and whatnot, is, we talk a lot about qualification. And there is an art to qualification. In fact, I would suggest that there's even more of an art and more of a need to disqualify quickly. Because, unfortunately, not all potential sales leads are created equally, and so you need to really be in a position to ask the right kinds of questions to assess and evaluate honestly with respect to whether or not this is going to be an opportunity you should pursue now and one that you could compete and win for. Because not only do we want to be shrinking those sales cycles, we want to win more deals, of course, and we want to win more profitable deals. And time is of the essence. If we're trying to shrink that sales cycle, then it makes sense, right, that we want to spend more time with the right people. And unfortunately, I see a lot of salespeople who are spending too much time with the right folks. So let's talk about some of those qualifying questions. We use a methodology inside social-centered selling that we also use with clients that is called, Sales Opportunity Snapshot. And what this essentially does is help us to ask three very vital questions and then three supporting questions under each one of those main topic areas, if you will. The very first one is, should we pursue this opportunity? And I can almost hear all the salespeople, anybody who sells in the audience saying, well, of course we should pursue this opportunity. but should you really is the question, and let's dig a little bit more deeply in just a second. So the first thing you need to ask, should we pursue? Secondarily, can we effectively compete? And again, this is where it's so important to get honest and realistic about your capabilities and whether or not this makes sense for your company to pursue. Because if you pursue opportunities that lead nowhere when you could have uncovered that right up from the beginning, you're costing the company money. So then the third big thing is, can we reasonably expect to win? Again, I've managed salespeople for a long time. I'm one myself. It can be easy to think a great conversation means you have a win in the making. That is not always the case. So let's break down the three very quickly. So first, when you're thinking about pursuing the opportunity, Kent talked a lot about the focus on the drivers in order to help determine what the business initiative is. And, when I think about that first meeting that you're going to end up having, maybe it's on the phone, maybe it's in person, but, for me, your ability to use this technology moves you from pitching. It moves you to a place of where you're validating and not interrogating. And what I mean by that is, by doing some of the research and the homework that Kent started talking about, I'm going to dig in a little more deeply. You should be able to validate some of the information and your thoughts around whether or not you think something is going to be important to the business. Of course, during the meeting, could you have the ability to find that project? Can you find that out online? You might be able to, right? You might read that somebody was, they secured a grant or whatever it might be. But I see you asking these questions, right, of yourself. What's the driving reason to change? And you can use technology to kind of help bring you to a certain point, which again, I think is a great opportunity to demonstrate how you've done your homework, how you've set yourself apart by in that first conversation letting people know that when you've done the homework, you noticed X, Y, and Z, and then you ask some relevant questions to kind of validate. Again, I like to think about it as validation, not interrogation. The time has come when I would like to see more salespeople let go of this notion of walking in the door and just asking a bunch of questions. There is so much that you can find out before you get there that will further that conversation in a way that you can't when you're just going in and saying, hey, let me ask you what keeps you up at night. So then next you have to think very clearly about, the viability of the solution from the client's perspective. Is it going to make sense for them? And then what are the resources going to be required if you're going to sell it, implement it, and as Kent mentioned, you're thinking about that specific value. Now notice that it's kind of color-coded and it comes back to this worksheet that brings you back to a bullseye. And the whole goal is to ensure that you are answering the questions that get you, that you are getting closest to the bullseye, because that's when you know you have an opportunity to really pursue. I mean, as we get into the expect to win, are you able to impact the decision-making process? Do you have enough of that executive credibility and support, and are you truly aligned with the right people? If you're not able to answer those questions honestly, then you're going to have a hard time winning the business. The other thing is that being able to answer those questions means it helps to prepare you for whether or not you would want to move forward. So, if I'm talking with somebody and they say, well, I'm talking X, Y, Z, and yeah, they kind of are interested in what we have to offer. And, you dig a little deeper and you see that they don't really have an initiative tied to this, which means there's probably no funding allocated. There isn't any driving reason to change. Why even bother spending the time? And so one of the things that I love about this philosophy is it's quick, it's straightforward, it's to the point, and frankly, you either know the answers or you don't. Now, this, I think, is a really critical point in the sales process. And so before I kind of move ahead, Kent, let me ask you, or even Coca, do you have any thoughts that you would like to, and by the way, we have a worksheet in the next slide that you'll see in a second that will even help you capture this data. But just curious if the two of you have a little more that you would like to add to this part of the discussion.
Well, one of the things that I've found is, unless the organization has a driving reason to make a change, there is no opportunity. And I'm surprised at how often I'll see sales professionals try to sell something that in fact seems to be a great solution, and believe very sincerely that it could save an organization, for instance, or an example, a lot of money. But if it's not actually addressing the driving reason to change, there's something significant going on in the organization, it's not likely to get the attention, and probably therefore there's not going to be an initiative. The other thing about this here is that, as you alluded to earlier, items 3, 6, and 9, they're in the center of this bullseye, and that's very much on purpose. It's pretty unlikely that we could actually win an opportunity without actually having accomplished 3, 6, and 9. Um, so those are some of the things to be thinking about, and we can get this information and help us look at this by looking at not only inside the client organization, but also sometimes going outside the client organization, but going to credible sources can be very helpful.
And Coca, what about you? Because you've been a long-time salesperson and you manage this. What's your thought on the whole qualification, disqualification part of the sales process and why it's important?
Well, one of the things that we talk about internally a lot is, spending a lot of time disqualifying these people. Being in the business that we're in, there's a lot of people who need help with their sales team. So, we're a vendor along with other ones, and it really comes down to what that company, what our prospect is really looking for. In many cases, companies really just want data, and we don't live with the belief that data is the answer. But some companies are really dead set on, hey, we just need more names. We need more hay on the haystack. And they're not at that point yet where intelligence is really, going to be the driving factor. The progressive companies, the ones that are actually, leading the pack, the ones based on, the CSO Insights and some other reports are showing that they're the leaders in the space, in the industries that they're in, are leveraging intelligence. So one of the hardest things for us is, with the influx of leads that we get, is disqualifying the people who are really just looking for data. And we can educate them as far as we want, but at the end of the day, if all they need is more names in their CRM, then we're probably not the right solution. And sometimes it takes a little while to get to that conversation.
Right, but in the end, it's important because you don't want to continue to invest sales cycles when it's obvious that the solution is just not a fit for what they're really trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
Right. So, asking the questions, and I've mentioned a couple of times honestly, and the reason I can say that is because, I get it. Salespeople, we're all overly optimistic. We all think we can win every piece of business. We think, anybody we talk to is going to buy from us. And, and that's great. The real world is there are other things that go into the buy-sell decision-making process. And so your ability to make some evaluations quickly about whether or not you are have enough information in order to move forward makes just a ton of sense. And, I know in the deck that we're going to provide you, the very next slide is actually a worksheet that you can use to answer these questions for yourself, right? So you can just click, should I pursue? Do we spend the time and resources? Because time and resources, that's money, my friends. And also, if you are spending time with people not likely to buy now or maybe never, and you don't qualify that and disqualify them quickly, then you're going to waste a lot of valuable sales time. All right, so we have that for you so that you can kind of go through and ask those questions, decide, sort of even as a team. And I love, and then now we're going to move into, data versus intelligence. And I like what Coca just said. It's about using the information in an intelligent way that leads to the sales result. Data, more names on the haystack, as Coca said. More hay on the haystack. Sure, let's just throw more names on that. Well, you don't really care if they're the right names or the people who are qualified to buy from us. But we'll go ahead and we'll just kind of, make ourselves feel happy and contented that we're just continuing to call a bunch of people. Well, anybody who has ever talked to me knows my philosophy. I'm not a fan of that at all. And today there's no excuse. Why do we need to dial for dollars? As in, let's call a bunch of names and run a script by people, when you can use business intelligence tools like a LinkedIn to dig in a little more deeply. You've asked this question, should you pursue? You've learned a little bit about the business initiatives. Now you're prepared to go into a meeting. Having that intelligence takes a little more investment of time on the front end, but boy, is it worth it. Now, what are some of the things that you can do with that intelligence? Well, as Kent mentioned earlier, you're looking for driving reasons to have a conversation with someone because something's happening in their business. It could be a changeover in leadership, new product launches. It could be a corporate buyout. But something is happening. And guess what? With tools like Inside View, you can find a lot of that real-time information that you can then use and leverage to your advantage. You can follow companies, and you can get some relevant real-time data based on alerts you establish and so on. We're a huge fan of Inside View. We are also a business partner, just in the spirit of full disclosure. And I will tell you that I've been using the tool for well over a year. Prior to that, even as Coca knows, we did a profile of Inside View and how they were using social media to drive business back just before the book was published in 2010. So, we have been a user for a long time and really like it. So you can get information about that company, but now you can also get information about that individual, that executive buyer that you're trying to connect with. And I just want to come back to this notion of validate, not interrogate. So in this example, Amanda had hired me to come in and do a partner presentation for her partners at a big summit that she had going on. And I wanted to use her as part of my presentation, but also in getting to know Amanda before we had our first phone call, I did a little research, and I noticed, if you notice, we're looking at Amanda's profile, but if you also notice just below her lovely picture, there's something that says in the news. And I noticed that Cisco is going social with channel marketing. I think, this is probably good information for me to have. And so as you'll see when we move the slide forward, the next thing that pops up is I see this, and I realize, oh my gosh, this is a video of Amanda at a show in Las Vegas just a few months earlier laying out her plans for channel initiatives that she wanted to roll out to her ecosystem. So contrast this, right? Instead of me walking into Amanda's office and saying, hey, Amanda, let me ask you, what are the most important initiatives in your business? What's really keeping you up at night when you're thinking about what partners need? Nope. Instead, I've watched the video. I already know the 7 initiatives that are really important for this partner ecosystem. But now I use that information in a way that says, okay, of the 7, which are going to be really critical to you, right? So it's how you use the information in an intelligent way that I think speaks more to what we need as salespeople than straight data. And this is just an example of a watch list. I follow a number of different companies, and I want to be alerted real time when things are changing in their business. And so getting a summary alert, either based on people or companies, has been tremendously helpful. Of course, I'm a huge fan of the Buzz tab as well because I want to walk in knowing that I can quickly search the web right through the Buzz tab. Inside View's doing it for me. Is there anything cool going on? Any problem happening out there in the stratosphere that I should know about before I walk into the meeting? So it's a very powerful tool.
And now we have a mobile app, and you can get that on your phone.
Okay, now that's seriously cool. Did that just happen?
Yeah, we had a new version release over the weekend, and if you go to, I believe it's touch.insideview.com, there's a link on our website as well. We have a mobile version of our application now.
All right, well, that is awesome. And so I want to encourage everybody who's listening in, make sure that if you aren't already using their tool, well, I just can't say enough about it because it drives revenue, and that's the bottom line. If it doesn't, what's the point? And so knowing now that they've got a cool mobile app, I'm getting signed up for that right away, Coca, and I hope everyone on the call will as well. All right, so let me just kind of wrap up this section with, and then let's see if there's any questions. But, when you're thinking about an opportunity prospecting framework, it doesn't have to be that super complicated. Really what we're trying to do here, and especially as we're thinking about, well, how do you integrate, social/technology into the sales process? And specifically for prospecting, better job at qualifying and disqualifying if you need to, and then, shrinking the sales cycle, et cetera. We're really looking at 3 things. We want to establish triggers. What are the key things that are going to signal to us that there is something happening in the business that might be a potential sales opportunity? And actually, I love what Jill Conrad said on a session I listened to a few weeks ago by her. She calls it trigger prospecting, which I thought was kind of cool. So you're looking for triggers to really alert you to something that's going to mean that if you take a couple minutes and craft a relevant message, you're appealing to someone and something kind of real time that you can use to your advantage. Next, you're going to engage in those communities to build credibility and visibility. Let's face it, I may want to sell you a coaching program today, but you may not be ready. So how we can engage with you early on so you get to know us and trust us makes a lot of difference. And then you want to kind of proactively stimulate those interests. How do you do it? You kind of line up with appropriate tools and resources. Our favorite tools, LinkedIn, Inside View, we use Twitter, and we also use Twitter/Hootsuite to help us manage from a dashboard perspective, something we can get into at a later point. But when we think about B2B selling in particular, LinkedIn, Inside View, and Twitter gives us so much leverage. But the key is in how to, use it well and use it right. Who do you track? What do you track? Well, this is just an example depending on your business, but you want to think about who's the individual? What's their title? What's their responsibility? In this case, if I'm a security company, I'm probably looking at the chief security officer. They're responsible for the strategy. Maybe I need to talk to the IT people. They're responsible for budget. So while there's always going to be that relevant executive who's probably going to be the one that really has the most influence in that decision, there are other influencers who are part of the process that you need to think about. And then what are the terms? So once you establish those trigger terms, you can use tools like Inside View to help you get access to that information quickly. And then finally, what's the process? Well, you know what? It's pretty straightforward. 7 steps, pretty easy. You have a target list of, companies you're trying to penetrate. You know the executives you're trying to reach. You're going to do your search on LinkedIn. You're going to determine who's appropriate to engage because you've asked your questions and you know whether or not you should move forward, whether you not have enough information. You're going to look for common interests or people in common on LinkedIn. You're going to review Inside View. So again, this isn't hard, but it does take a little bit of pre-thinking. It's a little bit of homework up front, and then it helps you prep. But I just have to tell you, it works. If you're like us, you receive sales spam. Everybody does. And if you start to really look closely at the emails that come across, if you start to listen to the phone calls that come across, most salespeople, unfortunately, right now, which I hope even as of today, we've changed some of the mindset out there. It's all about preparing, and frankly, there's no excuse. We have so much real-time information. Preparing ourselves for that first interaction is what leads to, based on my experience with our clients, that's what leads to speeding up the sales cycle. If you keep monkeying around the same way you always have, it's just like a losing proposition. So here's an example. Now, I'm a big fan of making the phone call first. I'm not a fan of, I don't know you, I'm going to send you an email out of the blue. And actually, something that Inside View put together some time ago talked about the fact that some 92% of people will not respond to a cold call or an email from someone they don't know. So if you have a chance of capturing attention, and I can tell you why they don't pay attention to the emails. Most of the emails, they're boilerplate, they're not relevant, they are a sales pitch, and very easy to make all of us, hit the delete button. But if you use email as your first point of interaction, or maybe it's a follow-up after a phone message, look at the difference in how you can engage someone by saying, hi, it's Barb Giamanco calling. I noticed, I noticed that one of your key business focuses is you're demonstrating you've done some homework. Now I say, I have some ideas for you. I'm not going to pitch them. I have some ideas. I'm going to let them know that current clients do see an increase in their ability to get in front of people more quickly, okay? And I'm asking for some time to speak. That's a little bit different than what I often see happening, which goes something like this. Hi, John. This is Barb Giamanco with Social Centered Selling. And, we offer sales and social media training and consulting. I'm going to be in your area on Thursday, and I'd like to get on your calendar at 2 p.m. Please call me back. right? Notice the difference. Where's the relevance for the buyer in that second example? There isn't. It's me. It's my agenda. I'm trying to sell something. So it's better if you shift that conversation to give them some reason. First of all, demonstrate you've done a little homework, you know a little bit about them, but give them a more compelling reason when to have that discussion with you. So, you know, when you're thinking about the phone call and you're thinking about the email, I'm just imploring you, and frankly, I'm begging you from my office here. Take a minute and customize the message. Make it relevant. Use LinkedIn. Use Inside View. Frankly, you can find some cool stuff on Twitter, but whatever you do, demonstrate to your buyer that you care enough about doing business with them that you've learned a little bit more about their business. And I know this is tough. People want to pitch. They want to say, got my meeting. I just want to tell you all the great things about us. But if you really want to be successful selling, got to make it about them. I just don't know any other way. So to sum it up, you know, the research helps to build the credibility. That's really what it's all about. If we know buyers are going online to start the sales process, do research, do their homework about us, we have to be equally prepared. We've got to find those ways to build credibility in advance of sales opportunities. And hey, folks, even like today, we have the opportunity to team up with Inside View to bring you an educational session. It helps, hopefully, and you'll tell us later, helps to build that credibility. Right? So think about speaking and where can you be on webinars and what other things can you do to build the research. But how can you curate content and use news articles and things that really demonstrate you know what you're talking about and you're a resource that can be trusted. And when you do that with great qualification skills, you are going to shrink that sales cycle. Again, disqualify fast. Don't waste time with people who maybe they can buy 6 months from now. If that's the case, put them in your lead, nurturing system, whatever it might be. You want to qualify quickly to determine who can you do business with quickly. That helps to lead to shrink that sales cycle. And finally, you win more deals. I find this to be true. The faster you can qualify the right people and move those not quite qualified or ready to do business either today or in the future off to the side, you move yourself forward more quickly, you're effectively managing your time, and you have the ability to win more business. So, for me, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Do a better job at prospecting, find more of the right people, get the right message, determine whether or not the opportunity exists, and do you have the right resources and people to back it up, and do you have the influence inside the company. This is all the stuff that can lead to achieving those objectives.
Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So, we've got, they'll see in the deck, people can learn a little bit about our services. We, speaking and advisory service and training and things like that. We'd love to have you connect with us for sure. So you can reach out to both Kent and I. But I know we've got a little bit of time, so I don't know, either other questions or other points of clarification maybe, Coca.
Let's see, everybody, if on the phone, feel free to ask your questions into the chat box, and we'll get those answered here. In the meantime, one of the things that you guys are recently doing is your Sales Meet social media coaching program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So what we decided to do, and it was really in response to a lot of folks asking us for, how can we get kind of the down and dirty, and how do we, how can we quickly move through the initial process of getting our profiles established and getting our foundation set our social media plan, and so forth. So it's a series of 7 sessions. We actually kicked off last Friday, and so no one will be left behind because we've got all the materials, we've got the presentation, and we recorded the segments. You can join now. But we are meeting every Friday, and we started with the basics of why you need to do what you're doing. We're going into branding, then we move into lead generation and pre-sales call research, and so we're really moving through the phases of what it takes to kind of get yourself established with the social selling process.
Outstanding. Yeah, it looks very compelling with the information you guys are giving. And
Okay.
Are you covering all tools, or are you focusing on a few of them, or is it kind of an overview?
Well, what we did in the first kickoff session is we gave everybody sort of a level set on the different platforms, but our main focus throughout the segments are really LinkedIn, Twitter, and how do you leverage that data and that information? How do you have a presence? But absolutely, Inside View is a big piece of it. It's a big component of our sessions 3 and 4, and really going forward.
Outstanding. Yeah, well, I'll definitely be keeping track of that. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions. Most of the stuff that's coming through is just saying how great everything was and it's useful. Again, we've recorded this webinar, so this will be hosted on socialsellinguniversity.com for further review. And thank everybody. This is the information that you can connect with Barb and Kent on just about every social channel out there, it looks like. And be sure to like their Facebook page. They have lots of good stuff they share on Facebook as well.
Well, as always, we really thank you for the opportunity, Coca. I don't know if Kent has some parting words, but we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to share some education and knowledge, and just to reinforce that, you know what, social media and technology are great, but you still have to have awesome sales process, great sales skills, great questioning skills. So thanks for giving some of the time today to let us kind of talk about that, which is certainly a passion of ours with respect to driving revenue.
Absolutely, and thank you, Kent.
Thank you, Coca. Great session. Thank you for the opportunity.
I appreciate all the work you guys put into all of these presentations that you give to our audience, and we'll schedule the next one soon.
That sounds great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and look forward to some of the follow-on materials that we're going to send your way. But please do feel free to connect with both Kent and myself. I would love to have a conversation with you and, give you a quick review of your profile and, just answer questions. But reach out to us and let us know how we can be of assistance.
Thanks, everyone.